Nick Lachey? Oh, he's that guy.
We're animals.
No, you treat animals. We're human beings.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Taste of Reality. My name is Queenie. For those who don't know me, reviewing A Love is Blind Season 2, The Reunion. And I'm going to let you know right now, I know you already saw the timestamp. Not the stamp, but the time. You saw the time. This is going to be a long one. There was so much information. We're still going to go live Saturday night, probably like 8 p.m. Eastern. But we're going to get a lot of stuff covered. A lot of stuff. Chaos. A lot of stuff covered in this video. So before I get into it, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload. Out of the gate, before any questions are even asked, Shake is showing us that he's about to be a complete ass throughout this whole reunion.
I'm nervous about how we get edited.
That's what you're gonna lead with?
That's what I mean. Hey, I'm gonna
That's
say
so
what's
on
on
brand,
everyone's
Jake.
mind.
Just to let anybody know who doesn't watch the show, because I know there's people who just watch the reviews, he does this the entire episode. Anytime he feels like he wants to interject, it doesn't matter whether or not it's related to him, he will speak up. So that was very irritating to watch, but here we go. So the first question is in regards to Shaina and Natalie and their kind of relationship, knowing that they're pursuing the same person. And Shaina said she wishes that she was more forthright with Natalie because she could see that Natalie was having, a very good experience and almost felt away because she wanted to have a good experience with Shane, but he was torn. And the problem with Shaina for me is that if you saw this woman being so happy about this person, yeah, you wanted him, but ultimately that didn't work out, that makes you look even worse for what you did at the beach. So you knew this woman was head over heels for this person. You knew they had gotten engaged and you still wanted to impose yourself into their relationship. And not even that, then call it fake. Nah, she wasn't cool for that. Shane then chimes in about the mistaken identity situation where he was calling Natalie Shaina when it was Natalie, and then also explains why he called Natalie his girlfriend when he was still planning on pursuing Shaina.
I didn't change my line in the last minute or anything like that. No, I wanted to explore both situations because they were both completely different.
In response to that, Shake says, this show is not about finding a wife. It's about finding love. And I'm like, it's about both? Like you're wrong and you're right at the same time. And this is why you should just shut up. He later then goes on this rant, like literally a rant, talking about how, I'm not going to put myself in a box and marry somebody. I'm just not going to do that. Then why sign up a show where you literally put yourself in a box?
The only time you guys are going to interact are in the private pods.
And at the end of it, you're supposed to marry someone.
And when you pick the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, you'll propose.
Just shh, be quiet. So then they add Kyle into the mix of this love square. And they show the clip of when Shaina went back to Shane to kind of basically give him a last try, even though she'd already been proposed to. And that day he was planning to propose to Natalie. And he's like, damn, I wish you had talked to me a few days ago or whatever, right? And Kyle is like, no, hold on. Because why did this conversation even happen in the first place?
I thought you just needed some loose ends tied up.
You didn't know about it from months ago when we talked?
Well,
You
but either way, I didn't understand the point of the meeting.
Shaina is like, okay, I should have said no to you immediately. Okay, I get it. And then she's like, yeah, I should have been more forthright with Natalie, and I apologize to Natalie. I apologize for not being transparent, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Why are there no apologies for Kyle? Because realistically, Kyle was head over heels for you. Let's just say that. I'm kind of I don't know. But let's just say that, okay? And she knew that the whole religion situation was a hard line for her. If it's such a hard line, start your preliminary conversations with that. You know, in the first 2 or 3 conversations when you're talking to people, are you a Christian? Because I need a partner who's a Christian. And then move forward. Because to say this was the reason why y'all didn't work is just, you need to apologize to him. I felt like you gave him a false sense of hope. And then two, okay, I'm going to be skipping around because I plan to talk about this later because it was later, but I'm going to talk about it now. So she says Kyle giving her Kyle giving her his grandmother's ring or his aunt's, his mother, whoever's ring was manipulative.
How special you should have felt? I mean, I would be so honored. Like,
That's
wow,
why I couldn't go through with it though, because I can't wear your mother's engagement ring. Like, I don't know. I just felt it was very.
This man planned to give a family heirloom to the person that he loved. How is that manipulating you? I understand it was a hard position for you to be in because you didn't want to marry the man. But to say that that was manipulative. And then here's where Vanessa lost me. This was later down in the episode. Vanessa was like, do you feel like at the reveal, you kind of pushed her into continuing the process because she was trying to tell you it's not going to work? No, Vanessa, don't do that. Don't do that. Because Shaina is a grown adult. She could have said no in the pods. She could have said no at the proposal. She could have said no at the reveal. She could have said no in Mexico. She could have said no at the dinner in Chicago. She could have said no before meeting the parent. She could have said no umpteen times. Umpteen opportunities. She could have said no. And now we want to paint it as if Kyle was the one, pressuring her to be in this relationship. Stop the bullshit. Stop. No, I will not accept that. In the midst of all of this hullabaloo, Shake pipes up again. And the whole cast is like, can you just shut up?
Can we just say off the record that the drive to continue on the show was a driving factor?
I honestly don't even remember what it was that he was responding to. I think he just loves to hear himself talk, whether he's right or wrong. He's just going to speak. So we're just going to move on to Iyanna and Jarrette. And basically, Iyanna's sharing that in the pods, she understands everything that happens. It was hard to watch, but she understands because everybody is torn. You're making strong connections with multiple people. Things are going to get a little bit murky, right? But after Jarrette made the commitment, the conversation that Mallory and him had on the beach was very disrespectful.
Having that conversation should have never happened, or I could have tailored it a different way. And I definitely want to apologize to you for, making you look crazy.
He's my partner, and he's the one who owes me loyalty. Mal doesn't owe me anything.
They also asked, fighting the black urge to say asked. They asked Sal how he felt about the situation, and he was vexed too. And Jarrette did apologize to him as well. And Sal was like, yo, listen, everything's copacetic. I just wanted y'all to know that wasn't cool, but we're good. So they're talking to Mallory about the situation, and she's going on about, nobody understands how overwhelming this is. Like, I was so nervous, and then I also had some shots, and it was just a lot.
I was fully invested in my choice and my decision. I just felt like after the emotional conversation we had, we never really got to talk.
There's a difference between tying up loose ends and having an inappropriate conversation. And I'm glad that they're all acknowledging that this was an inappropriate conversation. But I would have liked not to hear the excuses of, I was drinking and I was... The reality is you were engaged to somebody who you keep claiming during the process that you loved so much. And I'm not even going to try to begin to understand how everybody feels in this situation. I understand it's probably very emotionally taxing and overwhelming. However, you know what boundaries are. And there's a way to tie up loose ends with somebody who you used to be involved with without crossing those boundaries. So it doesn't matter if you were nervous. It doesn't matter if, you were overwhelmed. Conversation shouldn't have happened. They both did acknowledge that and they apologized. So we're going to put it to rest and we're going to move on. With Nick and Danielle, I feel like they're still faking the funk. I do. So they're talking about married life and they're basically saying, all the fights that we were having, they didn't even play a part in the marriage. Everything's great. We're living in bliss.
I feel like what the show did in the experiment, if you will, was give you guys the building blocks to, you had a disagreement, and then, for the sake of continuing on with the experiment, you had to come back.
I do hear where Vanessa's coming from, though, because when you are in a situation where you still have to face the person that you're having contention with, that's more incentive to make things work. So when you're dating, it's easy to just ghost somebody because there's no consequences with that. But in marriage, especially in a committed marriage, you have to go back home. Or in a process like this, contractually, you have to go back and talk to the person. So you have a greater incentive to stay in it. You have a greater incentive to bury the hatchet. But something about them still makes me feel like they're not talking, and they don't have to. They don't owe us transparency. It is their marriage. We have nothing to do with it. But I would have wished that they were a little bit more honest about how married life really is, because I find it hard to believe that they went from utter chaos to absolute bliss. I don't buy it. Apparently, Nick also dances on tables, which is something Danielle found out when she moved in. And he also likes costumes. And I'm like, oh, so you were just making a situation that didn't have to be a situation. Okay. So back to Mallory and Sal, which I'm sorry for jumping back and forth. Nick says that even as a host, he couldn't really understand what was going on between their relationship because it felt like there was always a factor behind the scenes that made the relationship seem like something's kind of off here. And so Sal is saying there were a lot of arguments and just external factors that made it hard for him to want to commit to the relationship. And to me, I'm like, yeah, that to me, that checks out. Because for Mallory to constantly want to convince him and herself that, but we love each other, I'm like, this is an overcompensation. Y'all heard me say this over and over again. It was an overcompensation for something. And now that Sal is saying there was way more to the story than everybody knows, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Because I'm like, why is she trying to convince us? Something's not right. Mallory says that the reason that there was a discourse in their relationship is because communication was off. And Sal is like,
Yeah.
Can I just say, Mal, and I'll just put it this way. There were many times that I also just felt unheard in our arguments, and I'll keep that to ourselves, but our arguments, I felt unheard.
Overcompensation. I'm telling y'all, she was trying to hide something. I'm like, nobody says, well, I love you, so much. I'm like, if he knows, then he would know. You wouldn't have to keep reminding him, So I'm like, yeah, something else is going on here. So the fact that he was like, I didn't even feel like I was heard by you. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. She tried to just lull you into, no, let me not make it seem like she was trying to force him to do anything. Let me not say that they're all adults. He stayed in that relationship by his own volition. Common theme throughout this episode is Shake. Sorry. Let me not do Shane like that, because Shane was actually half decent. Shake inserting himself into people's business and basically saying the reason why the relationship went sour was because of the whole Jarrette, Iyanna, Mallory situation, coupled with Salvador's ex. And everybody's like, listen, you don't know what went on in their relationship. Don't talk. And also, they said they don't want to air their dirty laundry. Why are you doing this?
What I've seen, shut up, Shane. What I've seen is a bunch of people that were so real in the beginning turn fake as fuck as we've gone through this.
You've been the fakest fuck. You've been the fakest person from the beginning.
I'm the
Don't
realist.
start that,
I'm the
bro.
realist, Jared. I say the
Don't start
facts.
that.
I keep it
You've been
100,
the
bro.
fakest since we
I've always
started.
kept this completely 100.
Come on, dog. Don't do that.
I loved that Natalie, Shane, Jarrette, almost the entire cast, but definitely those three people were constantly like, shut up. They wanted to put him in his place, and they did successfully. And then Shake has the audacity to be like, let's get back on track. You're the one who drove us off the damn road talking about let's get back on track. So then Nick's like, okay, well, since you want all the attention, let's talk about you. And they're going through the lack of attraction conversation, and Shake likens marriage to a big purchase. And he says, nobody was as committed to this as I was. And since I knew the stakes were high, I wanted to be completely sure that I was making the right decision.
If I were to marry somebody and there was a big weight discrepancy, it would be very hard for me to get past that. And when I'm in a situation like that, I want to get past that.
It was so disgusting to me to watch this man watch himself back and smirk. It's as if he's proud of his actions. He has no remorse whatsoever. And it's like he gets a kick out of being an evil person. And I'm like, okay, during the show, maybe. But even after public ridicule, even after making your family susceptible to this, you still don't feel away. Like there were real people involved in all of this and you don't care. This is all entertainment for you. Just crazy. So him and Vanessa start bumping heads because she's like, I actually was believing that you were changing in the process. And he's like, I mean, I'm going to double down. I am who I am. I like what I like, and it is what it is.
I'm not attracted to all of you. Unfortunately, the only one I'm attracted to is Vanessa. And you know, and I wish I wasn't. The point is, it's not a choice.
And I've done nothing but berate you this entire time. That's a messed up relationship.
That's what I'm saying.
Now I'm like, don't come for Nick Lachey's wife. Don't do that. Oh my God. I wanted Nick so, I mean, it's his show and he's the host, so obviously he wasn't going to act up, but I wanted him so bad to just reach over and like, oh, but it didn't happen. Shake says he wanted to be partially blind in the process. And I'm like, no, this clearly was the wrong show for you. He refuses that this was the wrong show for him at this point. He's like, no, I just think, you know, the premise of the show isn't what it really is. And everybody else in the room is like, but it is. It is. Then the women speak up about how they felt watching Deepti go through what she went through. And Iyanna read Shake for filth.
I think you would seriously benefit from seeing a psychologist and kind of figuring out some coping skills to navigate relationships as a narcissist, because I think you're going to continue to damage relationships.
Vanessa also is like praising Deepti for how she held herself, how she kept herself together. And then also she was commending Shake's mom for being honest with Shake and saying that, you know, he needs to do better. And he accepts the commendment. He accepts the praise on his mom's behalf and then quickly turns around and is upset that Deepti got the goddess edit while he got the villain edit. And I'm like, well, this is why you got it. Like, why? This man is just all over the damn place. Here you have Deepti again showing us why she's just a stellar human being all around. And she's like, listen, I have no problem with somebody not finding me attractive. That's life. It happens. But the way you treat people is what matters most.
And I'm so happy for every single person sitting on this couch today, because they have my back and they call you out. And beyond what was shown, we know about all the things that you said.
Yeah, that was a watered down version.
That was a very watered down version.
I cannot believe, actually I can believe that this was a watered down representation of how Shake really was during the process. I can only imagine how this guy acts on a day-to-day basis. And I hope that he plans on being an influencer now and not going back to his career, because I doubt anybody who watches the show would be booking appointments with him after this. I really doubt it. And to all the over 100,000 people who be following him, okay. Deepti, what happened? Something happened. Yes, Deepti said that it was Shaina and Jarrette who went to her and said, listen, do not go through with this. You don't know the things that he's been saying about you behind camera. This man does not love you. Stop now. And I was like, okay, all right. I again, like I said, I think Jarrette was just edited in a way that made it displeasing for me to watch. So I'm happy that in the reunion, like, he really was showing who he is, because I'm like, something about the way that they're portraying him, it's a disconnect for me. But I'm glad that he spoke up, and Shane as well. I'm like, okay, Shane, you've got some redeeming qualities. So here comes an absolute bomb drop in that Kyle and Deepti had a connection, and apparently that's Kyle's biggest regret.
I should have asked Deepti to marry me. I mean, like she like that's what I learned the most. Is I fucked up.
Hey, I would love that. between you two.
Yeah, and it pisses me off because you wasted such a good opportunity.
Hey, not true, because now you have it.
This is why I keep saying these streaming shows cannot make the season only 10 episodes. There's so much context that we miss. And I feel like the storylines that they wanted us to fall in love with, we would have fallen in love with them more if we saw more connections. And the people who were the villain, unfortunately for them, they would have gotten a worse edit because we would have seen that develop. I would have wanted to see more of the process. They don't have to make the process longer. But everybody talks about, oh, you know, it's such a strenuous situation. We go through so much. These days are long. Where? We don't get to see how long the days are. Show us more. In season 3, if y'all get greenlit for season 3, show us more. All right, we are pushing through. We are almost there, you guys. So back to Shaina and Natalie. They're given the floor to open up about the fight, and they don't really say what was said in the fight. And I get it. These two seem very fragile in this conversation. Very, very fragile. I know everybody's saying rumors that like Shaina's on something. I don't know, but he looks unwell a little bit. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's emotions, maybe it's substance, who knows? But instead of taking accountability for what happened, which he did, but it nullifies what he said because of him wanting an answer from Natalie and wanting accountability from her. He's almost kind of putting the blame like, okay, well, all my actions were a reaction to what you did. And I'm like, sir, this is not how you apologize. This is not how you accept responsibility. You accept it even if you don't get acceptance from the other party.
So you don't feel bad for anything like you've done, like no apologies or anything you think that you've seen.
No,
I
I'm
guess?
like
That's what I'm trying to like think. It's so tough. It's like
this is why they should have left the relationship in the pods. Because he has this way of not wanting to be the only one in the wrong. And although in reality, that's true, it's almost always both sides that play into, you know, the reasons why something doesn't work out. But it's almost like he wants this woman to suffer. So after the wedding, they did try to date again, and ultimately the fight was still a factor. They both couldn't get over it, and they weren't able to pursue a relationship after. And, you know, the cast is chiming in basically saying, oh, they're so sad that it didn't work out. They had so much hope, and maybe they could find each other again. And I'm just like, I get what you're saying, but just because you love somebody does not mean y'all need to be together, you know? And to see people who are so raw from a situation that happened over a year ago, no. Like I can get expressing sadness that it didn't work out, but to say they should get back together, I don't think so. Everybody knows that you can love a person to the day you die, but they can still be the wrong person for you. And I just think they're just not meant to be together. Vanessa then asks Shane if he and Shaina had met up, and she doesn't even get to finish the sentence. He's like, I'm not talking about it. He shuts that down immediately. And Shaina's confused by his reaction because she's like, it's not like anything happened.
I'll ask Shaina, hey girl.
There's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing. We were always just friends. There was nothing ever romantic afterwards. Or
I actually didn't even.
I know.
I just wanted to know if y'all saw each other.
I don't want him to think that it's taking away from your and Shane's story. There was nothing like that.
I think he just didn't want to overshadow the relationship between him and Shadow with Shaina again, because Shaina, not Shaina specifically, but the storyline of him and Shaina did play into, you know, a lot of the discourse between him and Natalie. So I get it. But then I was like, sir, if nothing happened, why are you so defensive? But nothing happened, so we're not gonna make it seem like more happened when nothing happened. Back to Iyanna and Jarrette, they're talking about marriage life, and they're saying like, listen, it is hard. We've had to navigate a lot of things, and we're still navigating things.
I realized like there are still some things that I need to work on. Which was like really hard for me to come to terms with. And I was like, no, I said I'm better.
They both acknowledge that the past life that they had before marriage doesn't always translate well when you are actually in a marriage, and that behavior had to change, and they're both still trying to figure out a balance between their social lives, just their values and all that stuff, right? And then Miss Iyanna drops the bomb that they actually did have sex in Mexico. And I'm like, of course you did. There's no way this man was naked in their shower and you didn't jump his bones? Please. Anyways, I love it for the two of them. Anybody who's new here probably is like, well, why is your tone changing? I always wish people well at the end of every season, even if I did not like them throughout the season. And it's not that I didn't like Jarrette, it's just, it wasn't looking good there in the beginning. But yeah, I wish them well, honestly. Even to Nick and Danielle, Godspeed. In the last words, Deepti is still grateful for the opportunity because it gave her lifelong friends that she appreciates. Shake finally admits that he was on the wrong show. I'm like, just shut up. Nobody wants to hear from you anymore. But apparently there's a new show called The Ultimatum.
Someone in your relationship has issued an ultimatum. I want a ring on this finger. You're gonna find out if there are people here
Who might be a better fit?
at the end of this experience.
You guys will have to choose to marry the person you've arrived here with, or to split forever.
Oh, I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna watch that. I watched Put a Ring on It. I watched Temptation Island. That's basically the two shows put together. I am in. If y'all are in, let me know. I can do reviews for that as well, but I will be watching regardless. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.